Welcome back, guys. We're continuing the journey to changing the colour of my water cooling PC. This isn't part 2, this is the prologue to part 2. If there can be a prologue between part 1 and part 2, then this is the prologue. So I've ordered myself some new fittings. The blue fittings that I had in the loop before don't match the red fluid / purple lighting that I think I'm going to stay with. Please put your thoughts about that down in the description. I've got myself the EV2 fittings from Monsoon, and these are in chrome, so they should be pretty generic. It shouldn't matter what colour I change my loop to in the future, they should match. And I'm going to do this video backwards. I'm going to start at the end with the fitting connected to some tubing and give you my perspective on that. There will be a reason as to why I'm doing that backwards. Then we'll go through the process of actually getting the fitting fitted. Okay, well, enjoy the credits, guys. I'll see you in a second. Let's roll them. Okay, so we're going to start backwards. So I've got a fitting on a piece of tubing. So this is 16mm PETG tubing. This is bigger than the tubing that I've currently got in the build. That's 13mm outer diameter tubing. So this is 16mm, slightly bigger, which I'm hoping is also going to improve the aesthetics. And we've got a compression fitting. Now, compression fittings on soft tubing bite down onto the tubing itself, so it's pretty hard to pull that tubing out of the compression fitting. For hard tubing such as acrylic and PETG, it doesn't bite down onto the tubing. What you have is the fitting goes in, well, the tubing should I say, goes into the fitting. You put a rubber O-ring around it, and when you screw your fitting down, it squeezes that O-ring between the outer part of the fitting and the inner part of the fitting, and that creates your watertight seal. The fittings that I've got in the build currently, you can pull the hard tubing out of the fitting because it's not biting down in the way that it does on soft tubing. It's possible to pull that tubing out. Now, I said I've done this backwards, and I've done it deliberately this way, so I'm not going to tell you why what I'm going to show you is the way that it is. But guys, what I'm about to show you is really, really genuine. I'm not acting this, I'm not making this up, this is genuinely how it is, okay? So we've got fitting on PETG 16mm tubing. I'm going to try and pull this off now, and I'm genuinely going to pull hard. Guys, ow, that is, guys, I'm genuinely pulling that really hard, and that has not shifted at all. It has not moved at all. That is incredible with hardline tubing. I have never seen a fitting that has got that, that amount of torque on the tubing itself. That's incredible. That really is quite an accomplishment, and Monsoon have tried this before. They've had fittings where you effectively stick and glue a little bit of plastic around the tubing before you put the fitting on, which creates that tighter fitting on the tubing. There were some problems with that was cracking, and I saw pictures in forums where it had leaked, and it was a problem. You don't have to stick any extra bit of tubing on this. This is nothing but O-rings and the fitting itself. And guys, I'm not a weak guy, right? I'm a big guy. I weigh, I weigh about 100 kilograms, guys, and it ain't all fat, right? That is impressive. That is really impressive. Now, the reason I've done this backwards is because I want you to see the outcome. The outcome is impressive. The process of getting the fitting on the tubing is a blinking nightmare. An absolute blinking nightmare. So I wanted you to see the outcome so you have the context of the challenge that was. So let's go over to the desk and let me show you how you get one of these fittings prepared. Okay guys, welcome to the desk. Let's take a look at the EV2. It's pretty standard packaging. This is a 12 pack. And what you get is a couple of different bags on the top here. So you've got a red bag, you've got a white bag. You've got a tool to tighten the fittings. I recommend that you don't bother using that. You're probably going to over tighten the fittings. You're going to strip threads, which is not going to be overly helpful. And then you've got a bag of G1/4 O-rings. And you've then got a piece of card on the top. And that piece of card is how you determine which of the fittings that you use. So the really great and unique feature about these fittings is that it has a degree of tolerance in it. And of course, whenever you manufacture PETG tubing or indeed acrylic tubing, you're always going to have a degree of tolerance. It's typically kind of plus minus 3%, 4%, something like that. So if it's advertised as 16mm, as it is with the tubing that we're using, you know, you've got a plus minus 3% tolerance. So you've got two bags. You've got the red bag and you've got the white bag that allows you to put different O-rings in depending on the absolute thickness of the tubing, irrespective of what the manufacturer advertises it as. So, you know, you put your tubing in there. Now, the first thing to say is the instructions on this piece of card are horrible, guys. Absolutely horrible. They made absolutely no sense to me at all. I read them 3 or 4 times. Now, arguably, I'm a bit thick, okay? I'll admit that. I'm not too proud to say I'm not. But, not so thick that I shouldn't have to read instructions 4 times in order to understand what they mean. So there is their website advertised on the back, which is monsooncalling.com. Went to that website, went searching for the EV2 product. Could I find the EV2 product? No, I couldn't. So it was actually on YouTube in the end that I found it. Now, the YouTube video that I came across was from Monsoon, and I have to say it was a pretty good video, right? It wasn't the world's most exciting video, but it was clear in explaining the way in which these things work. So once you've determined which size of tubing that you need, and if your tubing is somewhere between the red and the blue, which helps you determine the red, the red or the white, should I say, which helps you determine the red or the white bag. If you're halfway in between, then choose the bigger of the two, which is the red fittings. The instructions on the back are equally horrible, so ignore them completely. Ignore them and watch this video. So, you take your fitting. You've determined your tube size. It's either the white bag or the red bag. If it's halfway in between, it's the red bag. You have a set of O-rings within this bag. And what's unique about this fitting, and what I've never seen before, is you have 2 O-rings that go within 2 notches within the fitting. I'm going to put a graphic up on the screen now that I got from the Monsoon video on their YouTube video, which clearly demonstrates you get 2 O-rings within the fitting, and then you also get a tapered O-ring at the top of the fitting. So you've got 3 points of contact between the tubing, the O-ring, and the actual fitting itself. That's pretty unique and that's pretty special, guys. So you've got these O-rings, which hopefully you can see there, and you've also got these tapered fittings that go on the top. Now, you must make sure that the narrow end of the taper is facing towards the fitting and the wider end of the taper is facing towards the tubing. So ever so slightly fiddly, guys, you need to take the O-rings that you've got here, and none of this comes pre-installed, so you have to fiddle around, and I'll be honest with you, it took me a good few minutes. Now, the easiest way that I found to do this is to use the tool that actually comes with the fittings itself, and I just use that to ever so gently knead, prise, manipulate the O-ring into the 2 little grooves that you've got within the fitting itself. It is fiddly, guys, and you're probably going to get ever so frustrated, but remember, you're going to get a snugger, tighter fitting than if you just used a generic off-the-shelf fitting. That's the first O-ring in, so we will then put in our second. I actually find the second O-ring slightly more difficult to put in, and the Monsoon YouTube video suggested using toothpicks and stuff like that. I highly recommend that you don't do that, guys. You're very likely to nick the O-ring and you're going to cause yourself a problem. So we've now got, hopefully you can see that in there, we've got our two O-rings fitted in. Like a complete delinquent, I have forgotten any sort of tubing, so if you bear with me for 2 seconds, I will go and grab some. There we go, and like most standard compression fittings, your collar is going to go on first. Your tapered fitting with the widest part of the fitting facing towards the tubing, the narrowest part facing towards the fitting. You need to squeeze your tubing down onto the fitting itself. Now, that is snug. Obviously the snugness is going to depend on the thickness of the tubing and whether you've used the fittings from the white or the red bag. But that is snug. Do not use silly lubricants that are going to break your O-rings down or are going to break your tubing down. You know, at the very least, use a little bit of spittle if required. Now, so we've got that onto the fitting. Now that is watertight at this point in time. You could not screw the collar down, you could go and fit your tubing. If you had one of these at each end, you've got two O-rings on there, that is watertight. That would be job done. But Monsoon, not being satisfied, you've got your tapered fitting that goes down like that. You then screw your fitting down. No need to over tighten this, guys, no need to go mad. That, as previously demonstrated, we won't do that again. That's secure, guys, that is impressive. And I have to say, that's the second time that I've done that, and you can see from the video, it's not that fiddly, that's not that bad. Of course, what I've forgotten to show you is that you need to put your G1/4 fitting on the bottom. Probably would recommend that you do that before you attach it to your tubing. You now can't open that bag. That of course goes on the bottom of your fitting so that when you screw that into your radiator or your water block, then it creates a watertight fitting against that. So that's now down. Just make sure that there are no nicks or breaks in that, and that's it done. So I'm going to retract a little bit of what I was saying. You know, I said it was a nightmare. Second time was easier. I'm sure third and the fourth time get easier and easier and easier. I think the result is worth the effort. They look fantastic. The robustness of the fitting for hardline tubing is beyond anything that I've seen before. I think it's going to look fabulous with the red. Please give your thoughts down in the comments below. Part 2 is coming this weekend, guys, so please make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss that. Probably going to have the purple with the red, but without the clashing blue. Camera's just fallen over. If you like this video, guys, give it a big thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. I really hope you're well wherever in the world you are, and I'll see you in my next video.